Hi everyone. So welcome to another Feenix webinar. We hope that everyone will be enjoying today's session. We're just going to give a few moments just for people to start joining before we officially start our webinar. So I see we have some viewers who logged in now to join us. Thank you so much. Please feel free to introduce yourselves in the comment section. Tell us which university you're from. Hi, Sunny. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are very excited for the webinar today. So with us today, we have two amazing speakers that will be speaking on, how to set yourself apart for that job opportunity. So we have Min'entle from the Knowledge Trust, who is here with us today. Min'entle, you can just say hi to everyone.
Hi everyone. Hi Elson. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much, Min'entle. And then we have David here with us. David, you can just say hi to everyone. Yeah.
Afternoon, everybody. I'm glad you're all here to join us today.
Thank you so much for that, David. Okay, guys, thank you so much for joining. I see we have students from the University of Limpopo. We have students from the University of Witwatersrand. Thank you so much for joining us today, guys. We hope you enjoyed the session. If you just joined, please feel free to introduce yourselves in the comment section. Today's session will be about setting yourself apart for that job opportunity. And with us today, we are very pleased with our speakers. We have Min'entle, who is from the Knowledge Trust. So we're very excited to have her here with us today. And then we also have David, who has been an expert in the field of getting yourself employed. So thank you so much, everyone. So I will be starting the session first with Min'entle. We'll do a Q&A on just how to set yourself apart for that job opportunity, and then we'll have a session with David where David will be giving you some practical tips on how to prepare for that interview and to just set yourself apart. So Min'entle and I will be starting first. So David, we will see you in a bit. Okay, so Min'entle, thank you so much for joining. Like I said, Min'entle is, she works for the Knowledge Trust. She's the Member Success Officer, and the Knowledge Trust is an organization that specializes in connecting first-time job seekers with employment opportunities. So we're very excited to have Min'entle here with us, and we know the amazing work the Knowledge Trust has been doing. So we're very excited to hear from you, Min'entle. Min'entle, you can just take this time to introduce yourself to our students. Hi, Min'entle. Are you here with us? Oh, I think Min'entle is a bit frozen.
Hi Elson. I'm sorry you cut off there. Hi.
Oh,
Yes,
my
I am. I'm sorry
about
you.
that.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Technology is not on our side today.
Let me try and reconnect. So sorry. Okay, great.
No problem, Min'entle. Thank you, guys. I see that you guys are very excited to be joined.
Is it okay if I just reconnect just to see? Okay.
Yes, no problem, Min'entle. You can reconnect just so that we know that you're here. Okay, so Min'entle will be joining us again in a few moments. So, Hiram, it's nice to see you again. I am so happy to see that you're here and that you have your first interview this afternoon. That's amazing. We hope that you will enjoy the session, take some notes from what our speakers will be discussing today. And that will help you with your first interview. I wish you the best of luck with your interview this afternoon and that you get that job. I definitely know that you will get that job. I see everyone is very interested in today's topic. That is amazing to hear, guys. Please feel free to also give your feedback after the session. We do have a short survey that we would like you to please complete after the session or once you need to log out. But thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Please feel free to continue to introduce yourselves in the comment section. And then we will get started as soon as Min'entle can reconnect with some questions that she will be answering for us today. But we're very excited to have all of you here with us for today's session. Okay, Hiram is having his first interview today. That's very exciting. And then we also have some students from Durban University of Technology, which is very exciting. Hi, Ntabolo. I hope you are doing well today. And then also we have Nimpo, who just said hi to us. Nimpo, I hope that you are having a good day so far. Okay, while we are waiting for Min'entle to join us again. Guys, you can let us know in the comment section whether or not employed or if you're currently looking for employment. And please, if you have any questions throughout the session today, pop those questions in the comment section, and then we will answer it later during our Q&A session that we'll be having. We'll first have a Q&A with Min'entle, and then we'll have one with David. So you'll be getting some good tips from experts that's been in the field. Like I mentioned earlier, Min'entle has been working at the Knowledge Trust, and there she is back. Thank you, Min'entle. So Min'entle, hi Min'entle, are you with us?
Yes, I'm so sorry about that.
No problem. Thank you so much, Min'entle. So Min'entle, you can just take this time to introduce yourselves, tell students a bit more about the Knowledge Trust and maybe how you started working for the Knowledge Trust.
Okay, so the Knowledge Trust is basically an organization on a mission to make opportunities and education more accessible to more people more often. And we do this because we want to see a world where everyone has an equal opportunity to fulfill their potential. And I at Knowledge Trust, and basically what my office does is basically reach out to our almost 400,000 members now and actually see ways that we can actually make a difference in their lives on a more individual level and on a more customized level to every single one of our members, because we understand that everyone's circumstances are different. The opportunities that we're looking for are also different. As much as education and employment are the big ways in order for us to fulfill our potential, there's so much potential in talent. There's so much potential in entrepreneurship. And we are currently hoping to make those opportunities more accessible to people through our Career Expo delivered on WhatsApp, where we are going to be elaborating on the different pathways you can take in life and what exactly you can learn from these different pathways and how to get into them.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you so much, Min'entle, for that introduction. So tell me, Min'entle, what of the company values aligns with your values and that made you so attracted and passionate about what it is that you guys do at the Knowledge Trust?
My goodness. Yeah, I'll try and keep this short. But the 5 values that we have at the Knowledge Trust are: number 1, growth mindset. We actually do have a nano course that teaches a growth mindset. And this is a term coined by a psychologist from Stanford University, Carol Dweck, where she actually discovered that the way that we think about our challenges makes the difference on whether or not we actually then be excited about the fulfilling challenges and getting over them and overcoming, or do we, which is having a growth mindset, or do we stay in a position of having mindset where we are actually upset and uncomfortable with challenges. So one thing is that's very important for us. Our very first value is growth mindset, where we challenge our members to also think that way, to see all these challenges and see how it is that you have something to overcome in life. The second is kindness. We want to do everything that we can, from a very real place, which is why Member 67 exists, which is why we have a program as well called Growth Circles, where our members get connected and build high trust relationships in order to show each other kindness and see how they can be one another. The third, truth seeking, where we love to make data-driven decisions. We want to really get to the truth and the reality of young people, not just actions. The fourth is, so it's growth mindset, it's truth-seeking, it's kindness. The fourth is curiosity, which we are always trying to find innovative ways to get in touch with young people, which is why we now have the world's very first career expo delivered on WhatsApp, because we found that 99% of our members use WhatsApp, but a lot of them cannot afford data to be looking for online. So why don't we bring jobs and opportunities to them where they already are, which is WhatsApp? And that was purely through our curiosity. The last is, my goodness. But basically all of our are definitely, I am aligned with all of our values, and it really did feel like sort of meeting soulmates in this journey of social impact when I met the team. And I was just like, I can't believe I actually can, live with these people and every single day be working with them towards changing young people's lives. That is, it's amazing for me. I feel like it's a dream. So yeah, that's.
Thank you so much for that, Min'entle. So you spoke quite a lot about growth mindset, and I mean, as one of your values, not just at the company, at the Knowledge Trust that you're working, but also one of your values. So what would you say, what does a growth mindset look like in job applicants? Just for our students who are first-time job seekers, those that have been employed, what generally does that growth mindset look like?
Okay, so I'm going to describe this in 3 ways. So currently, our newest nano course is the Job Prep 101 nano course that we have available on WhatsApp. And it focuses on soft skills as well as the practical skills that you can show a growth mindset when applying. The first is your attitude. Having a positive attitude, having a can-do attitude towards your situation, towards circumstances, and always just being curious and finding, how exactly can I think about this differently, or how can I think about it meaningfully, which is what's more important. That's one. That soft skill accompanied by a growth mindset is extremely important, because it really does affect the people around you. And then the second is the way that you think about things. There's a framework that we teach in this nano course, which is called the 6 Hats Thinking Framework, where you're able to think about different problems differently and knowing when to apply. And the last is when you are CV, it's important, intentional about who are you applying for, what are you applying for. There are different information in the job spec. There's different itself, telling you about their values, and how you bring that together with your experience is in a section that we like to teach with our CV creating, which is the developed skills or the professional profile, where you are able to actually explain that, I have this skill which I've gained from this work experience, and this is how I intend to apply it. This is how I would like to grow it here at your organization. Or if you've only been at school and you don't have that much work experience, to explain how your education has taught you these different principles, and this is what you've thought of it. These are the results that you've been able to produce from that knowledge, and this is how you would like to grow. So that really shows a growth mindset, because you're able to link together your and how they are most relevant for this opportunity. Important the potential employer in that manner, and you can do it, but it's also very important to constantly be reaching out for opportunities and ways to stack your knowledge, like micro courses, nano courses.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Min'entle, for that. So I know that you spoke now that obviously the Knowledge Trust offers different courses. I think the most recent one is the Nano course that's available on WhatsApp. So we just posted the link in the comment section. So guys, please feel free to go onto that website and then visit also at the other courses that the Knowledge Trust is offering. Those courses are free because so that's just the amazing work that the Knowledge Trust is doing. We have time to take 2 questions. So guys, please feel free to pop any questions you might have in the comment section. And remember, I see there's people commenting their numbers. You just need to go onto the website that we just shared in the comment section, and then you can get the details for the Nano course as well as any other courses that the Knowledge Trust is offering. And please remember that those courses are free, so you can access those resources by going onto their website. So Min'entle, while students are posting their questions, can you maybe just tell students a bit more about this Nano course that students are seeming to be so interested in, especially since it's being delivered on WhatsApp? Can you just maybe tell students in like 60 minutes what this course is exactly about?
Okay, so firstly, I'd just like to reply to Wiseman. The expo is actually only going live on the 4th of October, but you can register on our site, which is knowledgetrust.org. You can register to be able to get all the information about when we're going live and when we are live, for you to be able to access the Career Expo. So it's very exciting. So this is what is in this Job Prep 101 Nano course. So the first, like I said, we are very intentional about making sure that what our members gain from us sets them apart. And when everyone or when all the candidates actually qualify for an opportunity, what sets you apart, besides your hard skills that have now qualified you for a job, is your soft skills. And which is why we really, really focus on our Nano course, adding value to you to be able to be a whole human, a qualified human being, but also one that, works very well with people, or that understands how to work with people, because that's also what determines you being in leadership, you leading teams, working well with teams. That's the most important thing. So in Job Prep 101, we do have 5 modules. It's a very quick Nano course to get through. The first is on attitude. The second is on working in teams and how to listen well, and the different techniques of listening and providing feedback, because you'd be very surprised about, it's really the little things that set you apart. So being that person that can actually take notes and follow up on them, and the different thinking strategies like the 6 hats thinking framework, as well as the most important, the practical skills of how to create a CV and how to thrive at an interview. Because you know what is really important that we want young people to be able to understand is that that CV, as much as you're applying for a job, the most important thing that you're applying for there is an interview. That's what you need to be focused on as your first goal. That what you need to get into from that CV is an interview. So in order to be able to get that, you have to make sure your CV is so interesting that someone reading it wants to know more. They want to ask you a bit more because you seem like such an interesting person. And then at that interview, your next goal is to get the job. So being able to actually create SMART goals is something that we have in the Nano course as well. We have 2 worksheets. One that allows you to systemize your job search. So it gives you all the different strategies that you could use. You could communicate with people, you could apply online, you could talk to people on LinkedIn, and it helps you to be able to see, what am I doing? What am I not doing? Yes, I've done that, but you actually realize you're only doing 20% of the things that are possible. So we have that worksheet for you to see all the possibilities that you could use to be able to get your next opportunity. And then the next is goals, a goal setting sheet that helps you set SMART goals, which are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound, so that you know, okay, I want to create this many relevant CVs, not just CVs. You have to create them to be relevant to every single opportunity and how many interviews you want to get out of that. So we have those 2 worksheets that are going to help you so much on your job search, but also in different searches in general for your opportunity. So if you're not looking for a job, you're looking for an education opportunity or a mentorship opportunity, feel free to use that systemized job worksheet. So yeah, that's basically the Nano course. We try our best to pack in as much value in short amounts of time, because we know young people have very interesting things to do with their lives. And you can provide feedback on what has been the most valuable thing for you in the Nano course. And we always want to make sure we make things relevant for you. So we'll include it in the next.
Thank you so much, Min'entle, for that. Guys, the link to access this Nano course that Min'entle was telling you guys about now, and to access those worksheets, can be found in the comment section, and it's on the screen now. Or you can just simply go to the Knowledge Trust website to access those courses. But Min'entle, thank you so much for your time today. We truly appreciate it. And if any of you have any questions for Min'entle or for the Knowledge Trust specific, please visit their website, sign up for those courses, and then get in touch with their support team. And then we also have an amazing comment from one of our students that has actually signed up on your website, and she has done more than 7 courses under the Knowledge Trust, and she says that it's very helpful. So guys, these are free resources for any of you to sign up for, and to just so that you are able to obviously create an opportunity for you to be selected for that interview, and not just to prep you for your CV, but ultimately to get you to that interview and to get you through that interview so that you can be employed for that job. But thank you, Min'entle. I am sure we'll see you again in one of our webinars. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Elzan. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you. It's so great to hear that. Truly, I love meeting our members. Thank you, everyone. I really hope you are able to take the course and find a lot of value in it. It's been made with lots of love.
Thank you so much, Min'entle. I hope you stay well.
Me too. Bye.
Bye. So, okay, guys, thank you so much for Min'entle for that. With us now, we have David. Thank you so much, David, for agreeing to do the session with our students today. So David has been in the corporate space he will be having a 35-minute session with you guys today on who you are, how to how to prep for that interview, and how to obviously just stay and know how to communicate in that job that you've landed. So okay, I am handing over to you now, David. Thank you so much once again for agreeing to do the session with our students.
Thank you, Alzan. And hello to everybody, especially the DUT students. I'm an alma mater from DUT, so I've got a special place in my heart. But I'm inspired by what Min'entle shared with us this morning, this afternoon, because it gives such a lovely grounding to what I'm actually going to be talking about, because that growth mindset is something so essential, and I wish I had learned about it many, many years ago. But I actually will touch on it again in my presentation. So I'm going to share my screen. And I'm going to, here we go.
There you are, David. Okay, so David, you are ready to present.
Right, can you all see my screen? So I'm going to, I can't see what I'm sharing. I can't obviously see comments, but I'm sure Alzan would feed me if there's anything that comes up was topical. So I really just wanted to cover 3 areas. The first one is, I've called it "Who are you?" Then interviewing skills and business communication. And I'm normally very used to doing everything very interactively, experientially, because I think that's definitely how we learn. So just bear with me, because I'm used to asking questions constantly and drawing people into my conversation. But I've tried to make it quite visual and interesting, so we don't fall asleep this afternoon. So the first thing I want to chat to you about is who are you? And I think that's fundamental to even to what Min'entle spoke about. So it's very important to understand our strengths and acknowledge what we bring to the party, or what we're going to bring to a future employer. And there are many, many, many opportunities to discover that. I think the first and powerful one is really to speak to your family and your friends. Hopefully, we all do a little bit of self-reflection, and if we don't, we should spend some time in being honest with ourselves and understanding who we are. But ask the people around you. Ask the people around you to describe who you are. They will give you great insights into who you are and what you bring to the world. There are many, many online assessments you can do around personality types. There are 2 fantastic ones. One's called Strength Finder, and another one is called Insights. But there are many free assessments that you can do. So I encourage you to do assessments just to get the language around the type of person that you are, because that's something you can tap into when you are focusing on looking for employment. And I think these 3 concepts I want to just touch on here are very necessary, because we all have a sense of failure. It's inherent in us all. And I want you just to understand and acknowledge that, first of all. Fear is something normal and it's natural. So don't be fearful, because it is a normal and natural concept to be worried about what the future is going to hold. So that's why that first image I've got there is fear not. Sometimes you just have to move forward. You've got to be brave and you've got to be bold. It doesn't mean you know what the outcome is going to be, but you have to take that first step, because if we don't take the first step, you're not going to go anywhere. And the second image there I've got of that little boy looking through a magnifying glass, and that signifies curiosity. So always be curious and investigate and question and better understand, firstly, who you are and what you want to do and what you want out of life. There's lots of research done around your purpose and who are you. If you don't know, do some research. You have access to the most amazing content out there, and most of it is free. And then finally, learn and explore. As Min'entle emphasized, learn as much as you can. Spend your time doing online courses, as many as you can. And besides the Knowledge Trust, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of courses that you can tap into. And it doesn't have to be something that you're studying. It can be anything and everything that interests you. It just makes you a more interesting person. So that's just my intro before we dive in. And I thought this quote helped me immensely when I started off. When I finished studying, I went traveling around the world for a year, and this inspired me. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. So don't necessarily worry about the destination or where exactly you're going every single day, but just sometimes get up and do something. Because if you don't get up, you're not going to get anywhere. So, interviewing skills. Now, once again, if you Google this word, you're going to come across many, many, many articles and video clips. So I want to share with you my experience. This is my story. This is what I have seen in my many, many years being in the corporate space and now being on my own. So it's just really David King's tips that I've picked up along the way. And the first one, I think before you even go for an interview, it's necessary to know who your audience is. In other words, if you have an interview and you know the name of the company, then go and find out every single thing you can possibly about this organization. That will always impress the person that's interviewing you, because it means you've taken an interest in the organization. Very, very powerful. And I've seen people's impressions of interviewees shift at the end of an interview when an interviewee is able to give insights into an organization, especially around, I'm not expecting you to know the finances of an organization, but in particular things like culture. If culture is important to that organization, go and find out about their company culture and who they are, and you can bring that into your interview. But remember, this is before the interview. The other things you can take into account is anticipating the potential questions. So if you know what the role is, if you know something about the organization, if you know what you've studied, then anticipate, because once again, no one can produce a script for you and say, these are the 10 questions that you're going to be asked in an interview. So do some research around questions. Pack and dress accordingly. Okay, just once again, be aligned to what that organization's image is. So if they are a relaxed, modern, laid-back organization versus a rigid, structured, corporate-style organization, dress accordingly. So don't, for example, go to Mr. Price dressed in a suit and tie, because you're going to stand out. People are going to say, this person doesn't seem to be aligned to our organizational culture. And you see how something so simple and unimportant can distract an interviewer. So dress according to how others are going to dress in an organization. It doesn't mean you can't be you, but if you're going to an agency, ask the agency. If you know people that work there, just ask them, how do people dress? Because some organizations dress in jeans and t-shirts, and others dress smartly. So be aware of that. And then there we go. The fourth point, get your head in the right place. There is your growth mindset. It's normal to be nervous and normal to be anxious before you go for an interview. But that's where your growth mindset kicks in. Okay, so please all go and do that amazing nano course. And it will give you some great insights into that. I love this slide because I have to remind myself of this. It is just breathe. So yes, on the day of the interview, and if I remember correctly, someone is going for an interview this afternoon, is breathe. And why I say breathe, it's actually, there's so much truth in breathing, because breathing is you taking in oxygen. And what oxygen does, it calms us down and makes us think clearly. When we don't have oxygen in our body, we cannot think clearly, and we get anxious and we make the wrong decisions. So when I say breathe, I literally say just breathe. So before you go, if you're traveling on a taxi, traveling in a car, you're sitting in the reception area, before you have your interview, take in breath, but take in deep breath, and it will dramatically change your outlook in order of what you're going to expect. And this slide says it all. When you go for your interview, tell your story. We remember stories. We love stories. Stories are passed down from one generation to the next. That is how we remember. So don't see your interview as a session where you're going to have isolated questions that you're going to be asked. Link your story. So when you go for your interview and now you're sitting in the room, hopefully, and from my experience, the interviewer should be making you feel content and at peace. And if they're not, then I wouldn't think that's actually a good organization to work for. Because to create the right environment is going to allow you to be yourself. If you sit in an environment that is stressful, you're not going to be yourself. But you don't always have control over that. So when you are in your interview, I want you to listen and observe. So when you're waiting in the reception area, I want you to look around you. Notice what's on the walls. Notice the people. Notice the language. Notice the dress. That might give you some tips as to when you are answering some of your questions. And you can even mention it or refer to what you might have seen. That you might have been in the reception area and everybody was very friendly or engaging or chatty. You can raise that in your interview because it shows that you've taken an interest. If you're being interviewed correctly, point 2, the interviewer is going to ask you for actual real life examples, or they're going to ask you to remember stuff that you've experienced. If you've had no work experience, think back to your study life, your personal life, your home life, and use those examples. So be honest. So I don't have an example around team working with a team, but I have had an example of working with a team when I was at school or in my neighborhood, in my local community. I'm involved in teamwork. So that's the example you use. Don't be put off or flustered because you don't have a work example. Use a life example and use example that is true. Because if you make up a story, trust me, you're going to get caught out somewhere along the line. If you don't know an answer to something, say, I don't have an answer now. I will think about it and I'll come back to you. Don't feel that you have to answer something if you don't have an answer. Body language. Yes. So as an interviewer, remember, the interviewer wants to see whether you are going to meet their need. They're interviewing you because there's a gap, because there's something that they need. Are you the person that they need? So the way you come across, you need to be, no one wants you to change your personality. So if you are a quiet and reserved person, you can't suddenly become this over the top being, but you need to show that you are interested. And body language says so much about an individual. So there's amazing stuff around body language that you can go and research, and hopefully the Knowledge Workshop has a course on that, or if they don't, I'm sure they will have soon. But very powerful stuff. So really, it just shows that you are in the moment, you are there, you are part of the conversation. And then the fourth point there is fill the gap, meet the need. And I've mentioned that already. You are coming to be interviewed to fill the gap. And as Min'entle said, that CV of yours, and this is something I only recently learned, you can't churn out the same CV for every single company you apply to. You need to look at what they need and you need to adapt your CV according to that. And sometimes it means the language that they use, what are they mentioning in the advert? Include that in your CV, because what it's showing is that there's an alignment. Okay. So don't just send everybody the same CV. See what the company's like, adapt your CV. You can't adapt the facts, but you can adapt the language in your CV. Okay. So when you have finished your interview, here are some tips. A thank you note is the right hook. So this is actually very powerful. So in the old days, when you received a gift or someone gave you something, you wrote out a thank you note and you put it in an envelope and you stuck a stamp on it. I even forgot what a stamp is because we don't even use those anymore. And you posted it. So in our modern times, a thank you note would be in the form of a email, a text, a WhatsApp, or even putting something on their website or their Facebook page or their Pinterest site or Insta. It's something that just makes you top of mind and shows that you are giving a form of respect, but more importantly, it's making you top of mind. So once you finish your interview, send a thank you message. Simple. And as I put there, my children reminded me of this: no text, speak, or slang. Okay. So you need to be professional in a thank you note. Simple, to the point. Thank you for the interview. Really appreciated your time. Look forward to hearing from you. That's all you need to say. Okay. Unless you may have even forgotten something. Maybe there's something relevant that you feel that you didn't have the opportunity to share. And I think from my experience too, during the interview, if you get asked a question at the end, always have a question to ask. Don't have no question to ask. Okay. And this normally will be something about the culture of the organization. Or it's you may have picked up something along during the interview that you might want to unpack a bit more. And an interviewer will always appreciate that. Why? Once again, because it means you're showing an interest. You're taking time to ask them a question, because all the way through the interview, remember, you've been asked a question and you should be doing all the talking in an interview, not the interviewer. And then my last 2 points there around after the interview is treating yourself. Reward yourself for having been to an interview. You don't have an outcome yet, but go and reward yourself, because you've probably been stressed, you've probably been anxious, you've probably been nervous. So after the interview, go and treat yourself to something, whether that is an ice cream or whether that is a glass of wine. You decide, but do that. And then very importantly for some people, analysis paralysis. Don't go into your head, and that's another example of what is not growth mindset. It's called fixed mindset, where you then start going through the interview and deciding where you went wrong and how badly you answered it and all the things you should have said and you didn't said. Pointless exercise. Okay, that doesn't help with your mental well-being at all. So no analysis paralysis is allowed. It is what it is. Okay. The outcome you'll soon find out when you hopefully receive a call to say that you are successful. Okay. So this quote is also something that I've always held it's very dear to me. And it's also helped me when you are feeling you're not on top form, and especially before you go for an interview. I think it's a lovely quote to remind yourself on. Today you are you. that is truer than true. There's no one alive who is youer than you. And that was by Dr. Seuss, who actually wrote many, many famous children's books. And then the final section I want to cover is just some business comms or some business skills that you should be aware of when you're entering an organization, particularly for your first time. Because if you've studied, you have a lot of academic knowledge, and now is the opportunity to apply practically what you have learnt. But there's often something that is not covered when you study, which we'll look at shortly. But when you start working, okay, everything goes well, you get a job, and don't expect, and I'm sure most of you have been applying, you're probably going to get more rejects than you ever get affirmative responses. And that's how it is. So don't be demotivated. Let it inspire you to continue. The first one is absorb, listen, observe, and ask. So when you start, take in everything, watch everything, listen to everything, check out everything, and ask questions, because that is how you're going to learn, especially organizational culture. And that's, I've mentioned this culture many, 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 many times, because that is going to decide whether you feel you belong or not. So first prize is that when the company employed you, they presented you with an amazing on-board program. Another word I'm seeing now they're talking about is a welcome program, which sounds much better. So welcoming you to the organization, a meet and greet, giving you gifts. It just makes you feel that you belong. And research says those organizations that spend time on onboarding or welcoming, they will have people work for them much longer, simply because you feel like they were waiting for you and they wanted you and they care about you. And research once again says it is very much about, does this organization care for me? Because if it doesn't, I can go somewhere else. And that should be your outlook. Because you are a brand. Yes, we want to get experience, but why are you going to stay in a system or an organization that doesn't treat you well or respects you? But that's the type of research you should be doing up front, and to looking in organizations that focus on their people. Okay. The second point there, it may be a shock to the system for you. Okay. Especially your first job, because you come with your theory, you come with your academic knowledge, and now you actually have to start doing. Understand that it takes 3 months for a human being to settle into a role. In other words, to get to absorb, listen, observe, understand, meet people, get a grasp of their job, know what's expected of them. And it takes 6 months to actually start being effective, efficient, or the word here I've used is proficient. 6 months. And is statistically backed up. So don't be hard on yourself if you are battling in the beginning. If you work for an organization that focuses on their people, they know this information and they'll be checking in on you. The first month, the third month, and the 6th month, they should be checking in on you to see how you are. But that's a luxury. Not all organizations are going to do that. But you in your mind need to know it takes 3 months to settle and 6 months to actually be able to be good at your job and to be able to contribute to the organization. When you start, find a friend, okay? Find a mentor, different people. Okay, so the friend's the one who's going to show you around and that you're going to go and spend some lunch times with. They're going to tell you the ins and outs and who's who in the zoo. Okay, they're going to smile at you. They're going to look forward to you're going to look forward to engaging with them when you're at work. A mentor is someone that you might only identify 3 to 6 months later. Somebody that you can really see that they like to grow people. They like to share their knowledge and share their information. Go and have a conversation with them. They don't have to be your line manager. They don't have to work in the same department as you. Go and sit with them and say, I admire what you do. I've watched you. I see that it's a field that I'm interested in, or I love the way you engage with people. Would you mind mentoring me? Trust me, in an organization, people would be honored to be a mentor for somebody else. And that second to last point is all about relationships. So that's probably something we don't learn when we study. We have our knowledge and our facts about the area that we've studied in. But when you're in a work environment, most of your time, you're going to be dealing with people. Even if you are behind a computer screen and you work in an IT department, you're going to have to engage with people, your team, your colleagues, your line manager, clients, customers, suppliers. So it is about relationships. So investigate, understand more about relationships. If you understand who you are, you're going to then better understand who other people are. And then my final point about business communication or business skills is really around you have to make your role and your job that you move into, whether it's your first job or your 10th job, your own. Because it may be a new position or it may be a position that somebody else has been in. And an organization expects you to take over from the previous person, but no one is the same. So you have to make it your own. Okay, and sometimes it's difficult because sometimes there's a bit of a clash because people are expecting a certain thing from you, but you need to have a conversation and say, I understand that the previous person did this, this, and this, but I'm learning this role and I need to make it my own because you actually are a different person. Okay, and that's the one that I think is profoundly important. And it probably comes more with experience that you're able to do that because in your first role you're learning, so you don't really have time to or understanding to say I'm creating this for me. But as you climb the ladder, remember that you can't be the previous person in that role. You need to be your own. Okay. And then I'm bringing this quote up again because it's so important. Okay. Today you are you. That is truer than true. There is no one alive who is youer than you. So there's the reference material, and I'm sure you all have access to this content. And that's how you can find me. So if you can't find me anywhere there, you'll find me on the beach, as you can see. And now I believe we're going into a question and answer session.
Thank you so much for that, David. So we've had a few students that asked us, or that asked you more specifically, questions. So the first one is from Katlego. So it goes, Mr. Davids, I would like to know why companies ask salary-related questions. For example, what was your last salary, or what do you expect to earn? So then Katleho goes and she asks, what are they trying to achieve with that question, and why do others require pay slip? It does not feel right.
It's a very good question, and it's an old way of thinking, actually. But remember, you're in a difficult situation because if that organization is asking that, you can't really say to them, well, you're stuck in the mud and you're living in the dark ages. A lot of companies do it simply because it gives them an indication. They should have an idea of what they're going to be paying you. Okay. And my problem with the payslip is that they're really asking you for payslip because they don't trust what you're saying. So if I say this amount, they want to prove that I'm not just making it up, which is not a very good start for me because it means that. But I have not come across a corporate that doesn't do that to this date. So it is something that most companies are going to do, and it really is for their own. It's for their own self-understanding and following their own procedures to make sure that they are aligning what they're paying you to because a lot of companies have bands, category bands, salary bands, and they want to make sure that you're not above or below. Okay, because they've got you, they've got to place you in the correct band. Banding is also very old school. Um, and a lot of modern and progressive organizations are removing categories and banding systems. But sometimes we in South Africa, we take a little longer than the rest of the world to catch up. But that's what they do, and they're allowed to do that. But as you said, it doesn't always feel right, but it just actually makes their lives easier. I hope that helps.
Thank you so much for that answer. And then next we have Rome, who has an interview this afternoon. So he just had a question. So he has an interview with a private practice. This is after a psychiatric occupational therapy position. So he just wants to know what answer does organizations or companies normally expect when you ask or when they ask what is your 5-year plan.
Okay, and I'm glad you raised that too. Well, first of all, good luck with your interview this afternoon. But that also at 5-year plans is a terrible question, and lazy interviewers ask that. And I saw a lovely article the other day where somebody raised that question too, and the answer was, tell them I want to be in your position. In 5 years, I'm going to be in your position. But yeah, it's a tricky one because really we know in the world we live in, it's 5 years is ridiculous because as we've noticed in the last 18 months how the world has turned on its head. So it doesn't matter what 5-year plan you had, it's not going to be as you planned it. So I would raise it that it's in this day and age it's very difficult to have a 5-year plan because we grow as human beings. So we might be going in one direction, but after a year or two we discover another direction. So it's a generic question that lazy interviewers ask, and that no one actually takes notice of what you're saying unless you're saying I'm going to be in your position in 5 years time. I would really if you were asked that question, I would just say I'm going to grow and learn as much as I possibly can, and I want to understand this business, and I want to I mean, to me it's as simple as that. You want to be in 5 years time, you want to be more knowledgeable, and you want to have made an impact in the organization. Wherever that's going to take me, that's what I want to do. I want to make an impact and make a difference. But good luck with your interview.
That is an amazing answer, David. So, okay, guys, if there's any more questions, please feel free to ask us. I think we have time to do 2 more questions, and then we will wrap up this session. But we will be back next week with David again, and also with another speaker, Nathan Kaiser. So he works for the UWC Student Support Center. So we'll be back next week, and next week's session will be about how to be your best version of you in an interview. So please feel free to join us next week again for that session. So, okay, we have one question from Juliana. So she's asking, when you're in an internship position or working part-time and the interviewer asks you if you get the job, when will you be able to start? How do you go about answering the question since you are eager but also don't want to seem like you are in a hurry to leave your current company? That's a great question.
Great. Why asking me such hard questions? That's a very good. It's a very good question because yes, it's a balancing act because you say you don't want to sound. I think you need to be honest and realistic, and also read into how important is it for you to do. I mean, is it something you really want to do? Then yes, then you're going to make a plan. And say you're so excited about working or joining the organization, you'll make a plan. But you also need to be realistic about timing. So you've got to just weigh it up and understand what their need is and how urgent their need is. But at the same time, you yourself have responsibilities of fulfilling what you're doing is in a role with somebody else, and that's just fair. It's being a good human, because somebody else is you're in somebody else's space, and they need time also to replace you. So I would say you negotiate it. You be honest with where you're at, and you say, listen, I've got this opportunity, and you say, I'll get back to you after I've discussed it with my current intern or employer. I'll get back to you with a date. And that's because you're being honest and authentic. You're not going, yes, I'll start tomorrow, and then you just drop the other people.
Okay, thank you so much for that answer. So I think we have time for one more question. So if anyone has any more questions, now is the time to ask.
Easy one.
But David will be back next week for our session that will deal with how to be the best version of you in an interview. So please feel free to join us next week as well, where we'll be having an open panel discussion. So you'll also be able to ask David more questions. Keep those difficult ones coming so that you are ready and prepared for that job opportunity. But in Min'entle's absence, I would just like to thank her for joining us today and for telling us a bit more about the Knowledge Trust. Guys, if you have any more questions with regards to what the Knowledge Trust has to offer, please visit their website at www.knowledgetrust.org. Visit that website, download those free courses so that you are prepped and ready for that job opportunity. And then David, he also shared his contact details. Should you want to get in touch with him, you can go and follow him on LinkedIn. It's David King, or on Facebook, you can search for him. It's David F King .16. Or you can find him at the beach, like David said. But we will be back next week. But there's one more question that we'll do, and then we'll wrap up the session.
Is it a good idea to connect with people in the company that is interviewing you on LinkedIn beforehand? Good question. That's out for debate. I don't think there's any harm in it whatsoever. Because that's the purpose of LinkedIn, is to connect with people in the business arena, and it might even be more beneficial post, even if you don't get the position, to stay connected. Remember, always be front of mind. So even if you don't get a position, keep in touch with those organizations and those people. So yes, I think there's no problem with connecting with people on LinkedIn beforehand.
Okay, thank you so much, David, for that. And thank you for that great question, Yasha. So because Hiram is having his interview today, he posted a question. So David, would you please answer one last question for Hiram so that he is fully prepped for his job interview this afternoon? So it goes, where do you start when asked, tell me more about yourself? Do you speak about your strengths and weaknesses, or just general information about yourself, like education and experience?
Yeah, that's quite a general question about tell me about yourself. So I don't think it's necessary to include strengths and weaknesses in that question, but there's no harm in, if it comes up, if you're running out of things to say naturally I'm an energetic person, or I'm a quite a positive person. You could intertwine it into the conversation, but often the question is quite direct. They will say to you, can you tell me a bit about your strengths and your weaknesses? And please don't say, I don't have any weaknesses. Okay, so think of a clever weakness that you have. It doesn't make you sound terrible, but don't be one of the people that say, I can't think of anything, because that means you're not being real, because nobody's perfect. But emphasize the strengths, but raise some weakness, and rather call it my development area. So rather don't, even if they say weakness, say this is a skill that I want to develop. I want to develop in that space. So switch it. There's the growth mindset again. You're switching it.
That is a great point. So just remember, you don't call it weakness, you call it a development area. So that is a wrap on this week's session, guys. We will be back next week. So we will see you all next week with David, as well as Nathan Kaiser and Carter Jean Peterson. But for now, that is it. Thank you so much, everyone that joined. Please remember to do our survey. It's pinned in the comment section. Just some feedback on today's session and what you would like future webinars to be about. So thank you, everyone, and thank you so much, David, for joining us today and answering those difficult questions.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.